here at Joyful Noise Productions. Once again, I'm Joe, in case it's your first time here at this channel. We're also here where we talk about a lot of things regarding music or even content creation. So if you like everything that's coming out of this channel, please do me a favor. Like this video, share it to all your friends, subscribe, and also hit the notifications button so that way you can know when the next video drops. And please do that so we can kind of get the conversation going here. So without any further ado, let's get into it. I know that the subject I'm about to talk about, especially in regards to audio recording, some people are going to have a little bit of a problem with it. The reason is because they're going to look at my channel and they're going to say, look, we don't see no hit records that you've made. We don't see any titles on any albums and things like that. You don't even got a clout and a following. Well, that's okay, because you know why? I've been doing this for about 20 years, even as long as I can remember. I even went as far as doing audio recording, even with something like this and this. Just like most people who start out in audio recording, we've gone through all the trials and all the errors. Some of us have figured out the right way of doing it, some of them haven't. There are some things that really have bothered me throughout the years, because I've been myself been trying to search for that perfect sound to try to make my mixes sound killer, punchy, and full. But a lot of times, due to some of the information that was available at the time, I couldn't do that. Even though now today, we do have a lot of available information that's at our disposal. And because of that, now it gets us even closer to be able to make perfect mixes. But there is still one problem that still prevails, and that is EQing. Some people still want to put, oh, I did this hack to make my vocals sound good. Oh, this is the EQ trick I used. Oh, this is what I do to EQ my sound. And when we try to apply those sounds to our own mixes, somehow it still doesn't work. We get frustrated, we get angry, and what happens is that we give up. And the reason why sometimes we try those things, because right now, especially some recording studios, they are very expensive right now. And a lot of us could be able to afford that because we're too busy feeding everybody else's pockets to try to keep them afloat while we're not getting anything in return for it. And throughout my time of being on YouTube, looking at all the tutorials, and even going on some of the forums, I'm even still on one forum that I'm on, everybody that I've come across, I've always said this one thing about EQing. And what is that? You don't EQ yet. Because EQing is a balancing act. And a lot of times we put too much certain frequencies on the mix, and it ends up thinning it out or makes it bottom out, and sometimes it doesn't come out good. That's why you don't do any EQing until you get certain things right. Now, in this short little video, there are going to be some things that I'm going to talk about that I've learned as an audio engineer of what's important. Now, number one, what I'm going to talk about is the source of the sound. Now, having the source of the sound is very important. Having the right levels. Now, if we're doing microphones, we got to figure out what mic we got to use. Are we going to use a dynamic mic? Are we going to use a condenser mic? Then we also got to figure out, is our condenser mic an omnidirectional? Is it cardioid? Or is it a figure eight? Or is it omnidirectional? Also, we got to think about, when it comes to miking guitar cabinets, how do we mic it a certain way? What characteristics will that bring? All these things come into play of how the source of the sound will come out. Do we use a direct box? Can we use plugins to make it sound better? How far does the vocalist have to be from the microphone? Those are the things that we need to take in consideration when we're about ready to record, before even all the EQing and stuff like that. Because getting the sound right at the source is very important. If we don't get that sound right at the get-go, no amount of EQing is gonna fix that. When we do some audio recording, we gotta figure out the type of sources that we're dealing with in regarding to the sound. like I said, is it MIDI? Is it a natural acoustic guitar? Drums. Those are the things we got to be careful. We also can consider other things, especially when you're dealing with drums. You got to think about mic bleed. All these things are all traced back to the source of the sound. Again, if the source is not right, neither is the sound. Number two, balance the sound. Now, with some of the multi tracks that I've had and been able to use, there's sometimes that there's a lot of some tracks where the source sound where I have to use a lot of EQing to make the song stand out. Sometimes it depends on what you're using or what kind of genre it's in, whether it be rock, metal, country, hip hop. Those are the things you have to consider. So when it comes to the sound, first of all, you want to balance the sound out first. You want to make sure that everything is level. So that way you can be able to figure out what instruments need to stand out more. The way I look at this is I look at it as the way of cooking. When you cook food, you just use certain amounts of ingredients here and there. You don't throw the whole, ingredients such as salt. You don't throw the whole salt shaker in it. No, use enough just for it to cut right through.
Bam! There you have it like that, all right?
You may need to turn it up a little bit, which is called a boost. You may turn it back a little bit, which is called a cut. Those are the things that's what's going to help you balance out your mix. But the way it's going to get balanced is if you're able to balance all these instruments without any EQing. If the source is really good and you got really good mics, in most cases, you don't even have to worry about EQing. All you gotta do is just make sure everything sounds level, maybe just accent certain ones, and that's it. And you're good to go. So when it comes to the balancing of the sound, all those sounds are very important. And one thing that even Warren Hewitt said at one time, less is more. Even guys like Caleb Lovelace, Jordan Valerian, Glenn Fricker, Archie Beats, and Colin Caproon. Those guys will always tell you you want to make sure you get everything balanced first, then you kind of work with it from there. 3, the equipment you use. Now, here in my studio, there's a lot of echoing going on. Maybe you cannot hear it in this video because I used a de-reverbing effect to kind of remove all the reverb. Usually in most cases, you want to make sure that you have no echoing whatsoever because it may color the sound. But in my situation, there's 2 things I use. Number 1, I use SonarWorks Sound Reference. This is where I can be able to EQ my speakers or my headphones. But more in this case, I use it for my headphones. And because of that, it allows me to be able to get a good natural sound of what it would be like in a flat frequency. When you got stuff like SonarWorks, it'll kind of give you an idea of how it would translate in every different scenario, such as different size cars, such as TVs, or even little earbuds, things like that. When it comes to using SoundWorks, that's what I use it for. Sure, there are others that are out there that are available for that kind of translation, but it all depends on what you want to use. I personally use SonarWorks. The other thing I also use, which is very important, are these. Your ears are the most important translator of any sound. Now, some people would say, well, you're telling us that you're using SonarWorks, but at the same time, you still need to mix through your monitors. Yes. And if what I use in my SonarWorks translates through my speakers and I'm able to hear that translation, guess what? I'm not going to worry about messing with the mix. Maybe I just need to tune it up, maybe just kind of make it a little more fuller. Because another thing I've learned from Jordan Valerian is that get used to listening to your speakers. Mostly everybody says, well, they go with the NS10s or the industry standard. Me, I use the Behringer Studio 50 USBs. And I've had those things for years. I know how they sound. So when I listen to my mixes, even in an echoey room, yet I can still be able to hear the translation of each sound and knowing that I know I just need just to do just whatever little adjustment to go through in my mix. When you put those two things into play, your mixes are going to work out perfectly. So, again, I'm not a, an authority on this. Just like most people, I'm up and coming, or even in some cases, you know, some of you guys out there, just like me at one time, we're trying to do a demo for our band. And sometimes, if you just get these simple advices, it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have. Even if you pay $10,000 for a set of speakers, you pay an ungodly amount for a computer, or even for interfaces, things like that. All that expensive gear is not going to do you any good if you don't take the basics into play. So, if you like this video, do me a favor, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. And also don't forget to hit the notifications. But also, if you can go to my Patreon page, where there you can be able, for $5 a month, you can be able to support this channel. Also, there's some goodies and stuff. Now, if you're a Christian and you need some presets, or you need some, some eventually becoming soon drum samples. Also, if you're a church leader and you don't quite have musicians, there's a bunch of resources on that page that can be easily accessible to you. Now, after this video, I'm probably thinking about doing a source of some more tutorials on this, or maybe just kind of go into tutorial mode with this, so that way I can kind of show you what I'm going through. So again, if we can all go through this together, we can all be able to come out with smashing mixes. So until next time,